It would have been humiliating enough for J.D. Vance to have been booed by the entire world, which is what happened at the Olympics. People from across the globe all came together in one voice to say, let's compete at these wonderful games, and also, we hate J.D. Vance. That would have been one thing, but what made it so much worse is the cover-up, which is always, always worse than the crime. And that is what Elon Musk jumped in to do. Tried to help J.D. Vance with a little PR, deleting the video of him getting booed off of Twitter, which only made it worse. And I want to get into how it made it worse and what the White House posted that made it worse. Just an all-out humiliation for J.D. Vance. You're really going to want to stick around for this one. But I think we can only start with this time last year when J.D. Vance, the guy censoring speech in so many more ways than one today, went to Europe to talk about free speech. It's part of the reason why they hate him, but I think it's important context for the broader conversation about censorship that I want to talk about in this video. Please subscribe to our channel. We unfortunately have to start listening to JD, but after that, we'll hear him get booed and talk about the censorship.
It has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person, but no. This last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
It is ridiculous to lecture European leaders on censorship when you are locking up journalists, threatening late-night shows, getting them cancelled, even because they speak ill of your dear leader. And to talk about the sovereignty of nations, they always talk about how the border invasions, oh no, people are immigrating. People who are refugees are coming to countries that more often than not cause refugee crises. Vance, you don't respect the sovereignty of nations either. What was your attack on Greenland? What happened in Venezuela? Where is your respect for sovereign nations? You don't have it. Trump doesn't have it. They operate independently of that idea. So, of course, everyone in that room was rolling their eyes, annoyed with J.D. Vance. This smug comes in to lecture us, and then, of course, he spent the next year censoring free speech. But before you even knew that, J.D. Vance got his political career from the guy who named his company intended to surveil Americans after a surveilling figure in The Lord of the Rings. Like, it is crazy. And that is why people hate J.D. Vance, because he's a smug, because he's wrong, he's a hypocrite. It's why he got booed. And then we're going to get to what made the boos so much worse. As we can see in the clip, J.D. Vance was booed at the Olympics, and it was well documented.
In an individual sport, what an honor for her.
There is the Vice President, J.D. Vance, and his wife, Usha. Ooh, those are not, those are a lot of boos for him. Whistling, jeering, some applause. Not a long...
Now, I want to say something real quick and kind of break the YouTube fourth wall. There is a possibility that because not only this video was taken down off of Twitter, we're going to get into that, but it might also be taken down off of YouTube. So, if you're watching this video and you go, Jack, I haven't seen a clip of J.D. Vance getting booed. I went through the whole video. There was no clip. It might be because it is taken down for copyright reasons, which we really know why it's going to be taken down. So, I just want to give that flag. Hopefully, you are watching this video and you got to hear the sweet sounds of those boos, but there is a chance that it has been taken down because that is instantly what happened on Twitter. Elon Musk's Twitter, that is someone who is now lobbying for a J.D. Vance 2028 run. I wonder why. I wonder why Elon Musk thinks he can buy out J.D. Vance. It is that very thought, being able to buy out J.D. Vance, that immediately led Elon to do this, and the White House to try to help as well. Oh, that's interesting. The original clip of J.D. Vance getting booed now says this media has been disabled in response to a report by the copyright owner. This Twitter user wrote the fact that they're taking down and censoring J.D. Vance getting booed, lol. But it's not just that. The White House posted the clip, wrote, "Built for this moment, Team USA arrives on the world stage." Can't play the clip again because it will be copyrighted and thus taken down. But what is important to note is that they censored out the boos in the video. You cannot hear them boo. And you also do not hear the commentator say, "Wow, sounds like a lot of boos." Ron Filipowski of Midas Touch also wrote, "You can find it if you look hard enough, even though they are vigilante taking them down on various platforms. Everyone hates dance. You just can't stop us from seeing it." So J.D. Vance gets booed senselessly, and no surprise there. And immediately his buddy Elon jumps to the rescue. Gotta take it down. He Stuyvesant affected himself, of course. Now, more people are talking about the fact that J.D. Vance got booed and that everyone hates J.D. Vance because everyone hates J.D. Vance. So I'd say not super successful. But that is what this administration does. It's Jimmy Kimmel, it's Don Lemon, it's Stephen Colbert. It is journalists everywhere. It is students publishing an op-ed calling a genocide in Gaza a genocide, saying that the American government should be ashamed for funding it. And they are mysteriously picked up in a license plateless vehicle by mass thugs, refusing to identify themselves and thrown in the back of the car. That's what happens when you criticize this government. That's what happens. And people right now talking about whether it be ICE or the IDF or the apartheid state that is the Israeli government, they are being actively censored on TikTok. That happens all the time, and it is happening now because of its owners. The Ellisons, the same people, get this, who put Barry Weiss in charge of CVS, are also censoring speech on TikTok critical of Israel or the United States under this regime, and ICE and their militarized attacks on Minneapolis. It's almost like the oligarchy, not the greatest thing in the world. And I'm being a little jokey about this because I really just don't know what other way to talk about it. Censorship is rampant on these platforms. You see it all the time, and it's not always as blatant as a critique of ICE. A critique, a grilling report of their brutality. Man, if I could speak, I'm being censored by myself. A grilling report on their brutality, their criminality. It's not always as blatant as that. And sometimes it's difficult to tell if you're not actively producing and posting content on these social media platforms, but they do make sure that they're in line with the regime. It is an active process. It was Benjamin Netanyahu himself who said the sale of TikTok is the most important thing that was happening at the time. It's going to be the most important thing for protecting Israel and protecting Donald Trump and protecting the militarization of our country. And I think those two things are inextricably linked. So for J.D. Vance to go lecture Europe and say, "Oh, you're imposing on free speech to come home and do it for a year." Of course, this was already after Peter Thiel, Mr. Data monitoring. Mr. Epstein as well had bankrolled his career. Is the hypocrisy that makes people hate J.D. Vance, and they do hate J.D. Vance all around the world. They hate J.D. Vance. He is one of the most, if not the most, because we do have Stephen Miller despicable figures in our politics. And it's why the other day I had to have Tim Miller come on with me to respond to that interview he did, because he's just so gross. He's just a gross person. That is who J.D. Vance is. And I think a lot of MAGA hopefully is kind of waking up. Not a lot of some Republicans are waking up to that fact. Some people are seeing that. We saw it this morning when I was actually shocked by the number of Republicans. And I'm not banking on them. I'm not waiting on them, but it is always kind of fun to watch. But who condemned the disgustingly racist post that Donald Trump made last night? And I think the best example of that was a Trump voter who called into C-SPAN today and just ripped him a new one over it. You're going to really enjoy this clip. Let's take a look.
Oh, my word. I am a registered Republican. My dad was the president of American Pipeliners Association, so I came by it rather naturally. Voted for the president, supported him, but I really want to apologize. I mean, I'm looking at this awful picture of the Obamas. What an embarrassment to our country. All this man does is tell lies. He is not worthy of the presidency. He takes bribes blatantly, and now he's being a racist blatantly. They were supposed to deport the dangerous criminals. They were not supposed to go after small children, storm schools, bring terror upon, the little kids and the women and children, not just the immigrants in the school. All the children are scared.
Not only are they deeply unpopular, because they are deeply unpopular, they are hated, despised. People cannot stand this administration. It's not just that they don't like them, it's that they hate them. That is the feeling that Donald Trump evokes in us. Just a level of, you're just disturbed. And that's what this administration is. And it's hard to distract from that. It's hard to wave a shiny object in front of that. And, well, Donald Trump will be racist for racist's sake. I do think that's kind of what we saw last night. And maybe the team realized politically might have went a little too far with it. I think it is just, oh, let me be gross in this way to distract you. They'll always try to find a way to distract us. And they'll always try to find a way to censor us, which is why it is more important than ever that we build platforms and communities where they cannot do that. We're trying to do it here on YouTube, trying to do it on Instagram, trying to do it on Twitter. It's more difficult on certain platforms. We're trying to do it on Substack, but there is a real growing progressive independent media, whether it be, and I've had a podcast, whether it be Don Lemon, Brian, Tyler Cohen, Zateo, the great work that they are doing. I know probably wouldn't call themselves progressive, but my friends over at the Bulwark, we love the Bulwark. We need to support it. We need to grow it. We're going to try on this show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. J.D. Vance. And until next time, I'll see you